Dewey's about to do something really silly, and Star Trek is to blame. A Family Guy double in an hour after we get the lowdown on the murder in Albert Square.
Walford is reeling from a shocking crime.
Heather's dead, all right? No! This will never go away.
And it's one of the most unexpected tragedies in EastEnders history.
No! Heather!
An innocent woman, a mother, and a bride-to-be days away from her dream end, has been murdered in cold blood by one of the people who loved her the most. The cover-up has already started, and tonight we take a closer look at how a troubled teen came to end the life of one of the most loved characters the Square has ever known.
Well, I guess it would be nice if I could touch your body. I know not everybody has got a body like you.
Action!
There's always going to be Heaven's show.
For the last 4.5 years, Heather Trott has been bringing bags of colour and fun to life in Walford.
Hev is a wonderful character. She's lovable, she's kind, and she's one of the most sort of warm-hearted, and she would give people her last penny, literally. These are for you and Mr. Brannan. So happy anniversary for yesterday.
She's bubbly, she's silly, very childish.
Because they're going to have the feet. Ow!
There's not a bad bone in her body.
Heather is about as hard as a marshmallow.
She is the ray of sunshine for Albert Square.
Understated, classic but simple.
Heather first hit our screens in typically memorable fashion.
My first kind of being seen was at Shirley's party.
Actually it wasn't. Cheryl did appear in EastEnders 2 years before as a prison cellmate of Mo.
Yeah, some Larry Care. I think she runs this place.
Anyway, back to the party.
I remember there being some quite good-looking burly men in there.
Really?
And then, at one point, a fight breaks out. I whacked this guy. Like some sort of old, lady. I just whacked this guy joining in this fight. And I remember thinking, God, this is crazy. I've really, literally been thrown in the deep end. Wow.
When Hev first came in, she immediately formed part of one of the most memorable double acts.
Heather and Shirl,
Right pair of dozy slappers.
they were just epic. I love them together.
It's almost like a love affair they have.
You shouldn't be doing that in here. They have adventures, and they are classic go-getter girls.
Oh, watch out, Walford.
They're definitely made for each other.
What are mates for, eh?
And your mate Shirley were the best.
They had their ups and downs.
You lying, cheating, backstabbing cow!
They had their arguments, but it was Heather and Shirl to the end.
It's just me and you. Come again?
She was introduced as a very broad comedy character, instantly successful. People immediately knew who she was and what she represented in the show.
She was this kind of fat girl, just ate her way through everything.
Donut, please.
There was quite a stereotypical whatever fat people do.
When we stopping for lunch?
We're not eating until later.
Oh, sorry about this.
There was that whole thing about it kind of being quite jokey.
We'll have to use the food fund. The what? I always keep a backup for an emergency kebab or two.
And there's one food she just couldn't get enough of.
Cheese.
Cheese.
Did you know there's over 700 different varieties?
Really?
Just wave a bit of cheese in front of her and she'll come crawling.
I love it.
You love it.
Oh, it's better than sex.
I think she once got fired for eating Edam at the cheese counter.
I was hungry.
What, and they sacked you for that?
She must have some fantastic dreams at night.
But it wasn't just cheese that Hev was obsessed with.
She likes a hairband for some strange reason. Hev has got the worst collection of hairbands that I've ever seen.
You can't have Hev without a headband. It's like fish and chips. You just can't have one without the other.
There was also her impeccable manners.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Truman. Hello, Mrs. Brannan. Oh, don't get us time for that, Mrs. Pat Evans. I'm so excited, you know, every time I think about it, I swear a bit of pee comes out.
Heather.
Sorry.
She was never far from a microphone. Yep, we're all thinking the same thing, Charles. But more importantly, of course, her obsession with Yorios Kyriakos Panayotou, a.k.a.
George Michael.
She absolutely adored him and fancied the pants off him.
Just think his sweaty foot was in that.
And believed wholly that she was in Club Tropicana.
Every song George has ever written is etched on my heart, Hazel. Every word written is in here.
She loves George so much that she went and broke into his house. And obviously, when she gave birth to her baby, there was only ever one choice of a name.
George Michael Trott.
I think her dream man would be a George Michael lookalike.
Well, I guess it would be nice if I could touch your body.
Blimey, George has let himself go. Heather was initially only written as a guest character, but after proving popular with audiences, she moved into Albert Square for good.
The public took to her immediately.
Cheryl's brought a lot of humanity and warmth to her.
With EastEnders, it takes, I reckon, about 3 months to bed a character in, and I think she managed to do it in about a month.
All characters have to be established. But then I wanted the viewers to see more of Heather. I didn't want them to see her just eating all the time.
It could have been a one-dimensional role, but Cheryl has brought so many different layers to Heather. I don't think there's anybody that can play Heather like Cheryl does.
Oh, that's good. Yes, that's going to be lovely.
Hold there. Hello, welcome to the place I've been living for the last 4.5 years. Come on in. Let me show you around my boudoir. I have, let's start off with a prop. And it's me and George. Up here is my kind of sanctuary, I guess. I kind of use it to play guitar, write songs, and chill out. Well, I guess it would be nice if I could touch your body. I know not everybody. Oh, no, that's the wrong key. That's embarrassing. Can we start again? My little boudoir of people. This is definitely a home from home. This is where I spend a lot of my time if I'm not downstairs playing with the other gang. This is a collection of Heather's handbags. They go with the headbands. In fact, they don't go with anything really, because nothing goes with anything. Like those. I think I've only worn these once. These ones are probably what I will wear today, as I think I may have a bed scene. Today is the start of Heather's demise blog. It's a little bit weird. I've got a lot today. I don't think I do any crying today, so that's quite good. It's just a friend, that's all. He's in trouble, he's in big trouble.
I think Heather has become more three-dimensional as time has gone on.
Hev's character has progressed into responsibility. The single mum having to support her child.
Please, George, just give Mummy a couple of minutes, eh? Lots of tragic things have happened to Heather.
She got poisoned by her boiler.
What's wrong? Is she going to be okay?
She's unconscious but breathing.
She lost her flat.
Just wonder if you've got room for 2 little ones. No.
She got the sack.
Go home now. And don't bother coming back.
And she was always skint.
I swear I'll pay you back as soon as I could.
No. I am not going to lend you the money.
Finally, and above all else, was her endless quest for Mr. Right.
Get yourself a fella then.
Oh, because it's as easy as that, isn't it?
It ain't that hard.
Well, it is for me. Hev has been pretty unlucky in love, I would say. The name's Heather.
She's had her tribulations with men.
Deep down, all she wanted was a happily ever after.
All she wanted was a good guy to come along and fall in love with her.
And after years of trying, it seemed that hapless Hev's dream had finally come true, in the burly shape of Andrew.
I was wondering, is there any chance you might want to spend Christmas with me?
On paper, perfect, and they are such sweethearts together. And he would have taken care of her for the rest of her life. I've been rooting for Hev to get a decent fella and to find happiness for years, and it's so close, it's so close, it was so good it was going to happen, and just why have the swines done this to our poor Hev?
Yes, sadly, Hev's demise signalled the end of a famous comedic character. But she's not the only hapless, hopeless, lovable loser that we've loved, laughed with and lost.
The comical characters in EastEnders are very important because they're the light to the dark. You know, we can't all be the kidnappers and the murderers.
It's nice to see someone mess up. It's a bit of relief. You think, oh yeah, I'm not the only one who does things like that.
There's a tradition for comic characters in the show.
The lovable loser that you just go, what a chump.
You got Billy Mitchell, you got Ricky Busher, Lofty.
They lift it up and they bring lighter moments, and that sort of contrast is what we need.
I don't do that so much. I'm gonna rip your head off your shoulders.
You don't say.
If it was all doom and gloom, you know, time you hit the duv, you know, you go out and slash your wrist, you wouldn't be able to take it anymore.
Well, it's not quite that bad, but with that in mind, we've selected our top 3 lovable losers who just couldn't get anything right. In at number 3, it's Gary Hobbs.
Gary had a great comic double up with Minty. They bounced off each other brilliantly. And as a comic character, he was the eternal optimist.
How do I look? Piggy and awful, but there's nothing you can do about that.
Gary thought he was a hit with the ladies, but it never worked out like that.
They wrote him a bit foppish, like...
Now, you will promise me that you'll be gentle with me, won't you, Dom?
He loved football, he loved boozing, he loved to laugh.
Happy-go-lucky, Jack the lad.
Constantly chasing after these women that were far too bright and beautiful for him.
All right, girls, who wants to be Santa's little helper, then?
No, you're all right, mate.
Gary was after Dom because, you know, Cara Toynton, really. Let's face it, that was a hard day at the office, that was. Kissing FHM's number 22 top 100. Got it wrong a few times as well. Not on purpose, mate.
Punching above his weight, definitely.
Maybe another little rubber tail?
Yeah, well, we could give it a try, can't we?
But in a rarity in this show, they finally got together and sailed away into the distance. I remember watching it and it was lovely.
Lovely girl.
A worthy runner-up is the man with the wild shirts and even wilder hair, 90s style icon Nigel Bates.
Nigel is the male equivalent to Heather.
He was kind of a soft-centred guy, but he'd always get let down.
He was hapless, wasn't he, really?
I think Nigel and Heather would have been a classic pair.
All this seems a bit over the top, doesn't it?
No.
They probably wore the same clothes.
Nigel was kind, he had a heart of gold. He was an underdog for so many years. I think when he finally got his happy ending, you know, we all thought it was completely deserved.
And the winner is... Nigel!
Sorry, Dot, but he isn't. Because our greatest, lovable, most losery loser was a no-brainer. Much like him, really. Barry Evans!
If you walk in the pub and Barry's at the bar, you think, oh, I'll have a perfectly nice hour here, having a few jars with Barry, you know, as long as you didn't have to go home with him. You know, bless him.
Besides written letters.
Everyone loves that sort of, like, vulnerable fool.
Oh, he just couldn't get anything right, could he?
I've got my secret weapon. No, it's the elasticated waist.
Couldn't help it, could he? Bless him, he tried.
He was a bit clumsy, wasn't he?
I remember his wedding, when he had the white suit and towels on, you know, with a car getting splashed on him.
There was this feeling that Barry was just an affable clown.
He couldn't even go for a walk on his honeymoon without falling off a cliff. Barry is just the biggest chump in Albert Square, isn't he?
I thought it'd be great. I'd join EastEnders and get paid for sitting in a caff all day, you know. And it's ironic because now all I do is sit in the caff all day.
Hev will certainly be remembered amongst those greats. And a big reason for that will owe a lot to the friendship and double act she had with her best mate, Shirley.
They've known each other since they were 16.
1987. Me and you down the Hippodrome, mate.
I can still remember the moves, you know.
Heaven Shirley was genius because they're two characters completely different who somehow have come together.
Just you and me now, girl.
They complement each other.
Who's got the best friend in the world, eh?
Care for each other, love each other, and they will do anything for each other.
Is this all for me? They are the absolute odd couple.
Oh, classy.
They are just poles apart.
Me and you, Cheryl, we're like Thelma and Louise.
Didn't they drive off the top of a cliff? That's why it works, because opposites attract. That's why it's just such a good mixture.
What you got?
What? Nice legs and a cheery disposition.
And a Rod Stewart hairdo?
Shirley's quite spiky. Heather can give her the sort of warmer side.
Stop gassing and get on with it, then.
Chemise, please. Pretty please.
Heather gave Shirley that sort of unquestioning, non-judgmental type of friend that we'd all like to have.
Each brings out the best in each other. Heather will bring out the best in Shirley because she's a abrasive character, and maybe Heather can sort of calm her down and bring out that nicer side. But also Shirley will try and stick up for her mate. Nobody messes with Ev because of Shirley.
What did you say?
It's all right, Cheryl, leave it.
Give him this one from me.
That friendship wasn't just confined to when the cameras were rolling.
Linda and Cheryl off camera are inseparable, just the same way they are on set.
It's like finding a bit of a soulmate, really.
We just immediately, and I'm not just saying it, clicked.
Oh, this is my mate.
They just adore each other, they'll be mates forever.
We've got very naughty laughs and we've got very naughty minds and we kind of like, we're very mischievous girls.
It's all going to be different, Chevrolet.
It's always good fun, it's always a laugh, there's always something happening. They're really close mates. So I think it's going to be a killer sort of tearing them apart.
What kept us glued to the screens, though, was wondering what they would get up to next.
They love to go off on a good old jaunt. I'm not sitting in the back again, that made me feel really sick.
Her first memorable adventure was the trip to Brighton.
We've got to get ourselves down to Brighton.
She was after Gary.
Well, I take it this is Gary Obbs.
Heather had fallen in love with Gary almost overnight,
I think I love him, Cheryl.
and nothing was going to stop her.
I've got to find Gary. Calm down, who made you boss? Sorry, I just love him.
The Heather and Shirley stuff with Brighton was great. It was kind of our first road trip out, as it were.
Gary Obbs, get ready for the night of your life.
That's when you really saw coming to the front how caring she was of her for taking her to Brighton to meet Gary.
It could be anywhere.
You know, she even nicked Pac's car to get her there.
Oi! That's my car!
And how protective Shirley was of her.
Heather was in a karaoke bar singing and she was quite sort of sad because she couldn't find Gary.
You gonna let me buy you a drink?
A young man starts to chat her up. Heather is very flattered and Shirley's watching from the sidelines with those eyes and he kisses Heather.
I pulled the pig! The master does it again! I told you I would!
It was a dare, it was a bet that he could kiss Heather. And this is where you see Shirley turn into the Incredible Hulk.
You want some?
And literally just go for him like a ton of bricks and be completely protective of Heather, who is absolutely devastated and distraught and has run off.
Shirley finds Heather crying on the pier.
Let me take you back where you belong.
And I think for both characters, we saw a side of them that we'd never seen before. Shirley got to be a parent, and we got to see the kind of vulnerable side of Heather.
This was just a sign of things to come, as Hev's love for the Wham frontman led them to another one of their most memorable misadventures.
Oh! I'm nearly there, Cheryl!
Climbing the wall to get into George Michael's house was a bit of comedy genius.
You can get... Ev? It was just so daft, but then it was so Heather. For her, it was her finest moment.
Was it him? Oh, I can see.
Breaking into George Michael's house. It was our idea, actually, because we actually did go round there one night and knock on his door. Well, I knocked on his door and then run away and left her standing at the doorstep. We came back and told the writers what we did, and that's consequently how they got that episode in.
It's George's bins!
I'm sure George Michael must be a Hev fan.
And of course, who could forget the infamous trip to Southend?
Southend 2011? My Hev Shell moment that just made me laugh out loud was the lesbian convention.
It's a little bit different.
Different. Do you brought me here as your lesbian lover?
No, it's not like that. It's just a technicality.
Consider yourself dumped.
It was great that Heather had Shirley over for once, you know. Showed she wasn't Cecilia after all.
Sorry, but this is the couple's welcome dinner.
Yeah, but we just had our first row. There's just this glorious moment. I think Heather's just said to Andrew, you know we're not really lesbians, don't you?
I didn't think it was. Not that you can tell.
And then the door opens, Bonnie Tyler does her sounds, and Shirley comes strutting through the door.
I think it's one of the most magic moments.
Like you said, you can't tell.
It's just fantastic, that whole episode.
Antics aside, there was always the ages-old girly issue that they could never agree on.
There's Heather and Shirley, and then there's men.
I reckon you and Shirley got the right idea anyway.
How do you mean?
Well, you've got each other, you don't need a bloke.
Men have always got in the way of Heather and Shirley's kind of relationships.
Men to Heather and Shirley meant something different. For Heather, finding a man would be her absolute salvation and the dream ending.
The problem with the man of your dreams, Ev, is where he lives. In your dreams. Out there in the real world, he don't exist.
What? He better had do.
For Shirley, it was just another Herbert that came along that was probably going to be wrecking her life.
The only time a man's ever told me I was beautiful is if he's guilty or he wants something or both.
Yeah, well, not this time, all right?
I tend to get really annoyed whenever she meets a bloke because I always think they're going to take the piss out of her.
Yeah, that's one way to deal with blokes.
I think it's about time you apologised.
Whenever Shirley's busy with a boyfriend, Heather tends to be dumped and dismissed, only to be picked up the next time Shirley's feeling a bit lonely.
This was never truer than when Shirley decided to move in and help a drug-addicted Phil instead of keeping hold of their flat, leaving poor old Hev homeless.
The time that Shirley chose Phil over Heather, I think Heather was really hurt by this because she needed her mate more than anything.
We were doing this together. Two mums, that's what you said.
That must have been very hard for Shirley. Heather just sees it as complete betrayal.
We don't stand a chance, do we? He's always going to come first, every time.
Shirley's just brutally honest with Heather and tells her that the most important thing in her life is Phil.
He needs me.
We need you, Cheryl.
What about what I need? I ain't George's mum and I ain't yours. It's about time you stood on your own 2 feet and grew up.
That was quite a poignant part of their relationship, and I think it took a little bit of time to kind of resurrect again.
They had these blazing rows where you'd think, oh my goodness, that's it, it's all over.
It's always the same with you, isn't it? Some bloke comes along and I always get pushed into the back door.
Oh, Ed, that ain't true.
Often you will see Shirley being quite horrible to Heather because she wants her to be more confident, more ballsy, stand up for herself, don't let people tread on you, because that's Shirley's motto.
They were never going to be over, they're always going to be together, that friendship's always there.
I'm sorry, Ed.
They're always there to help each other out, in no matter what circumstances. It would have always been Heaven Cheryl. Even if she got married to Andrew, it would have always been Heaven Cheryl, without a doubt. Different when they were their own partners, but very much the same when they were together.
Well, we'll never know now, because it was all ripped away from them with one fatal blow delivered by one of Walford's youngest ever criminals. So where did it all go wrong for Ben?
There's a very twisted, messed up little boy.
Ben, he's been cursed from the second he was born. He got meningitis before he'd even reached 6 months old.
His mum died tragically in South Africa.
Kathy's dead.
Which brought him back to England to live with his estranged father.
He's got an uncle like Ian Beale.
Actually, his half-brother.
He's got an uncle called Ian Beale.
No, still his half-brother, but we get the point. It's Ian Beale.
Stella abusing him at like 12.
Only for her to kill herself. And then Ben was left kind of trapped with a drunken and drug-addicted Phil.
Shy little boy, easily bullied.
I thought the Mitchells were meant to be up.
Loved dance and Billy Elliot.
Oh, well, hang on, what's wrong with that? Oh, yeah, of course.
It's quite clear how Ben has arrived to be this very confused and complex young man today.
Well, fair enough, really. If you are a semi-orphaned, abused half-brother of Ian Beale forced to live in Walford with Phil Mitchell as your father... Phil! Yep, that's going to do some long-lasting damage.
We've seen Phil urge him to stand up for himself for many years.
He says that to you again, you slap him down, yeah? Straight in, no mucking around, no messing around.
And when Ben finally did, he attacked Jordan.
No, not that Jordan. Yes, that's the one.
Wimp. You think telling on me is gonna make anything change? Running to your dad like a big baby. You're gonna get it twice as bad now. You need slapping down.
Phil says stick up for yourself, you get someone over here around her. You know, she takes things a little bit too far at times.
Technically a spanner. Thought he was meant to be a mechanic. Anyway, this was no laughing matter for Ben because the consequences of his first crime were disastrous.
I therefore sentence you to a 15-month detention and training order.
What?
Escort the prisoner to the cells.
For a shy, confused kid like Ben, getting sent down was the worst thing that could happen to him. He couldn't stand up for himself in school, so, you know, how is he going to cope inside?
We understand each other.
It seemed not particularly well.
Some bad things happened to him in there, and Ben blames Phil for being in there, so the bad things that happened to him in there are Phil's fault.
When Ben came out of the detention centre, it was immediately clear that his time inside had changed him.
They do look very different, yeah. He grew up a lot.
We saw a much darker character on a very different path.
Ben comes back from juvie. He walks in to Phil's house and there's the whole family round and they're all toasting Jay because it's his initiation into the Mitchell clan.
You are now officially part of the Mitchell family. So if you'd all like to raise your glasses to Jay Mitchell. Jay Mitchell.
Jay Mitchell.
Cheers.
Well, isn't this cosy?
Ben was very upset when he found that Jay was very much in the fold of Phil's arms, as it were.
Don't get used to it. You'll be out soon. Oh, and you're gonna make me, are you? I'll find a way. Yeah, of course you will. That's promise.
Ben should be one getting the homecoming, getting the toast made. Ben should be to Ben, not to Jay. And I think that sets the tone.
I want him to be proud of me. I want to show him I'm as good as Jay.
Jay's the son that Phil always wanted.
Oh, my son. And again. Come on. Oh, he's a natural. Of course he is. He's a Mitchell, isn't he?
He wants his dad's approval. He wants his dad to pat him on the head and go, well done, son, I'm proud of you. You're one of us. You're a Mitchell.
I need to turn out of the box. Show my dad I'm not going to be pushed around here. You need to keep your fists up at all times. Keep your eyes on me. That's what I'm doing. Don't just look at my gloves. Look at my eyes.
And it was during his efforts to toughen up that viewers finally got confirmation of what everyone had suspected all along.
When Ben finally came out to Phil, I don't think it was any surprise at all.
Dad, I'm gay.
He was a completely different child to the son that Phil wanted and expected.
Phil's confused by him. It's a difficult thing for Phil to get his head around. And obviously, he's uncomfortable and unhappy about him being gay.
He's never been the man that his dad wanted in his eyes. He's not a Mitchell. He's not a man's man.
He may not have had the Mitchell brawn, but he certainly had the brain to challenge his father.
There was a very important line that Phil responded to Ben, which was, "You'll never be Mitchell enough for me." And the whole stalking storyline was Ben's attempt to show his dad that he can be Mitchell enough.
Phil starts to receive letters, messages and photographs, all related to his past crimes. And of course, as he doesn't have a lot of friends in the square, he suspects pretty much everyone.
Ben conducted a campaign of psychological warfare with all the letters and cuttings. So he's worried and stressed Phil out as much as he possibly could.
How far will you go to make his life a misery? It's been a long time coming, Cheryl.
Depending on which side of the bed he gets out in the morning, he either wants his dad to suffer or he wants his dad to throw his arms around him for approval.
After a seemingly harmless public humiliation...
Let a proper driver have a go, come on.
Ben had finally had enough, and as a result, he lied to Marsden about Phil murdering Stella.
He was going to kill Stella. Make amends for what she did to me.
He just takes things further than a normal person would take them.
He told her to jump. Otherwise, he'd push her.
It wasn't long before Phil found out the shocking truth.
This should clear things up.
It was you! You!
Yeah, and I loved every minute of it.
Phil was instantly arrested for murder and looked like he was going to go down for quite a long time.
Philip Mitchell, I'm arresting you on suspicion of the murder of Stella Crawford.
After years of trying to prove himself to his dad, it seemed Ben had finally turned to the dark side.
So, what do you reckon then, Dad? You proud of me? Am I enough of a Mitchell for you now?
Ben would not have become a murderer without a victim, though, and Hev's grisly end began with a celebration at Walford's hottest and only night spot, R&R's.
It's Heather's Hen Night, so there's a few twists and turns going on. We have a bit of a reminiscent dance, don't we?
Yeah. We're very good, aren't we? I think we're naturally talented.
We keep the pressure on every night.
Cheryl's been fiddling about with the stripper on set.
I have not been fiddling.
And now she's positively weak.
The girls then had to tackle what was one of Hev and Shirley's most poignant and sad moments together.
I forgot to give you something.
Hang on.
If you don't like it, you can take it back.
No, give it back, give it back. Chuck it in the bin. Tell her you hate it.
I love it.
Oh, no.
Just before she gets killed, they're arguing.
I love him. If you can't accept that, then you're going to have to find yourself another best mate.
Shirley again makes Heather make a choice. You walk away now and we're finished. And Heather makes the right choice. She makes the choice of being with Andrew.
Murder weapon in hand, Hev was now ready to start a new life with Andrew.
And let's turn over.
And the cameras were ready to roll on Cheryl's last few scenes.
That's gorgeous. Yeah.
I'm filming stuff that is basically the lead up to her demise, and I'm not thinking about it being the last block. If I do, I kind of get a little bit like sad about it, I think.
Hev, just before she gets killed, is in a very, very happy place.
I love him, he loves me, we are happy family.
Morning, Mrs. Cotton. Things start to just get better and better and better, and they're getting closer and closer, and you can see the love growing, it's really blossoming.
I love the shot on one at the end, that's great.
And you think this is it, you know, it's all going to happen.
She's going to go and elope with Andrew, but just before she's about to go, she finds out that Ben has lied to the police about his dad.
Why would you do that?
It's not important.
He's your dad, Ben.
Just forget about it.
Well, you said it now.
You don't understand what he'd do to him if he finds out.
But it's not right.
However, the coppers were tipped off about Ben's lies by none other than Ian Beale.
Someone said something, didn't they?
Yeah, Ian Beale.
New information has come to light.
Ian turns out to be Phil's saviour, which he won't be taking him into the Vic and buying him a bottle of champagne, that's for sure.
This family, finally, has something to celebrate.
By the way, that's EastEnders speak for. Something horrible is about to happen.
Ben has wrongly assumed that Heather has grassed him up to the police for spilling on Phil. In actual fact, it's Ian, but that's what takes Ben round.
Phil is going to kill you if you fall better. I'm talking to you. He's fuming, he's going to go around there, he's going to have it out of her. Ben! Ben!
That kid has definitely turned chicken jalfrezi. But what is it about Walford that pushes people to the edge? Maybe the fact that there's only one pub? Whatever it is, Ben is by no means the first to overstep the line. So let's look back at some of the most infamous residents that just took things too far.
The psychopaths bring a sort of element of tension and fear to the square.
At times you like them, and then at times you're like, ugh.
As a writer, it's great to tease the audience, you know, that they know that something bad is going to happen.
Always leave you on the edge of your chair, so always leave you just, oh, what's going to happen next?
There have been some memorable marble losers over the years, but we've once again whittled it down to our top three. And we start with arguably the maddest female to ever walk the streets of E20, bonkers baby snatcher Dr. May Wright.
She was desperate to have a child. She saw that Dawn, who'd been having a relationship with her husband, was pregnant, and she thought, well, you know what? That's my child now.
Oh, right, she was going to adopt the kid. Well, that's nice. Maybe that's not what she had in mind.
She should never have been yours!
There was a scene where the door opened and she just went, hello, Dawn.
Hello, Dawn.
And you thought, oh, my God, what's going to happen to her?
There's something about doctors in the square. That Dr. May, she was a bad one trying to steal babies.
I can't just leave her, can I, to this life?
Mind you, she should have listened to her own health practices, because when she lit that cigarette... There you go, smoking. Bad for you.
Just missing out on the top spot, it's serial murdering man of God, Lucas Johnson.
The balmy vicar's downfall was the affair with Trina.
Oh, this is a steamy situation he needs to get out of. OK, that's probably a bit extreme.
A preacher who kills.
Only God can set you free.
He was absolutely split down the middle. in terms of good and bad.
We can cleanse our sins together. Get off! I'm offering you salvation here, you know. Do you understand?
Doesn't look like it.
Now get down on your knees and pray.
We just wanted to get it right. Now, if I can just hide that body long enough, then I can have a happy family. If I can just kill her and bury her, then I have a happy family.
It'll all be done.
And then it just all started crashing in on the poor fella and, oh.
Yeah, I don't think murder's the best way to sort out your domestic problems.
He killed Sugar the dog. That's when I completely lost it with him. How can you kill that dog? Into the canal. Rotter.
The psycho that stands out
Is Nick Cotton? Trevor? Sean Slater?
for me would be Archie.
I always knew he had good taste, because our number one didn't take things too far sometimes, but all the time. It's evil personified, Archie Mitchell.
He done some horrible stuff, you know, really dark stuff.
You just have to look into his eyes and you go, ugh, I don't want to go there.
It was great to watch. You never knew what he was going to do next.
Hello? You evil sounding cat?
I know girls like you.
I bet you do.
Only one thing keeps your mouth shut.
He seemed to enjoy upsetting people. He seemed to enjoy upsetting his own child.
The girl is dead and buried, rotting in the ground, and it's down to you.
The horrible things he did to Ronnie and the way he manipulated Roxy, it was incredible.
He was just so inherently evil.
I'll kiss your gravestone when you're dead.
Just a sick individual, just a sick man.
What made Ben's crime all the more shocking, though, is that unlike any of that lot, his victim had once upon a time been one of his few friends.
Heather and Ben are similar. Both been bullied. Both have had pretty bad upbringings.
Where's the things I wanted? I got Peggy's. You might as well finish the job, you fat, ugly pig. Hey! Shut up!
Her parents didn't give her any love, certainly not her mother.
I just have to take one look at her in the morning and I'm depressed.
Definitely Heather saw a bit of her in Ben, struggling with life.
Oh, you've got to live your dream, Ben.
Wish Dad thought that.
Oh, no, my mum was the same. But, you know, we can't let our parents hold us back. Come on, good luck.
And Heather, being the nice girl she is, wanted to look after him.
Whatever they take from you, whatever they do to you, they can never take away who you are or what you are. You just remember that and you'll find your way of getting through it.
They're both victims of bullying and they found a solace in each other. And obviously the first time they met, they bonded over their passion for musicals.
Bugsy Malone.
We did that. We did that at my drama club. My name is Tallulah.
You were Tallulah?
No,
I was crowd, but I wanted to be. They found in each other companionship. Heather wanted to be protective over Ben because she knew that's what he was like. Ben knew what Heather was going through on occasions because he's been through it himself in his sort of short life. So they always had a very close friendship.
She's always protected him, always took him home to watch the movies he wants to watch.
Can we rent a DVD?
Yeah.
Why not?
You know, she's always been there for him.
However, Ben's experiences in prison transformed their friendship.
Ben! I heard you were back. Well, aren't you going to give me a welcome home cuddle?
He's tried to frame her, he's tried to do all sorts of it, and she's still there for him, even after Lettergate. And Ev, she's supposed to be your friend and you put her in the frame. Hasn't she suffered enough?
When Ben made up Kevin 68, she kind of forgave him.
I don't think that Kevin 68, was such a bad bloke after all. I think, he was just misunderstood, yeah?
Hev always thinks that there is something in everyone to be saved. She wants to help this boy. He's been through a lot.
Please let it all blow over. How could you do this, Ben? I've never stood up to anyone before. And if I can do it, Ben, you can too.
Heather and Ben were actually so alike and they were good friends. And actually, Heather could have been Ben's saviour.
We used to watch musicals. We used to eat cake mix from a bowl, hide in the laundrette till the world went away. What happened to you, Ben? What happened to the little boy I loved, eh?
I don't think Heather would have ever thought that Ben would hurt her, let alone kill her.
Ben wasn't the only man in her life to turn on her. No, men were always a problem for Hev, and she spent most of her time desperately trying to find the man of her dreams.
Just introduce me to someone desperate.
The antics that we do get up to is a lot to do with Hev wanting to find a bloke.
No one ever fancies me. Oh, Lord a minute.
And it's usually blokes she knows she can't have.
I suppose a snog's out of the question.
She is just terrible, terrible with men.
What if I end up on my own, stinking of cats?
Well, it ain't looking good, eh?
The first of her lost causes was one of our lovable losers, Gary Hobbs.
Heather, when we first met her, was just desperately in love with Gary.
Got to warn you though, I'll get a bit tipsy at weddings and anything goes.
They did end up in bed together one night after a party.
I don't think anything happened, but I don't think Gary remembered either.
Did you let him polish your silver?
A lady doesn't kiss and tell.
Nothing happened.
Great, that's great.
But that wasn't the end of it.
She started following him around and stuff.
You've been following me about, haven't you?
And I don't think Gary liked that very much because he was following Dawn at the time.
Gary loves Dawn, Eva loves Gary. It's complicated.
So it was kind of like a stalker being stalked, if that makes sense.
Hev being Hev figured she needed a secret plan. And that was to get Minty and Gary's mum Hazel
Someone call.
to enter a wedding competition.
Is there something wrong with my hearing?
It's simple. Minty was engaged to Gary's mum, so Gary became the best man. Hazel is friends with Hev and makes her one of the bridesmaids.
I'm sorry you've lost me.
What's not to understand?
Just got to win the competition, get his best mate hitched, persuade the fiancé that you're #1 bridesmaid, and then jump in bed with the best man at the reception. How could it possibly fail?
Do you really think it'll work?
No.
Of course it didn't. But in a strange twist of fate, it did lead Hev straight into the arms of her next love, Minty. Hazel and Minty reached the final of the wedding competition.
We're now finalists.
But their relationship had fallen apart. The Hev stepped in and pretended to be Hazel.
I'm Hazel.
As you would, to win the prize money and become Minty's wife. But it wasn't quite happily ever after.
Minty grew to love her in a way that was not the kind of love that Heather wanted.
Oh, what would I do without you, eh?
He did love her, and she definitely loved him, but it was kind of like a brother and sister love.
In a way, Minty and Heather should have worked because they were both so similar to each other. That their wedding should have been the sort of glorious end of them getting together, but of course this is soap life, it doesn't work like that.
They even went on honeymoon together and nothing happened. I think the giraffes got more action than they did, to be quite honest with you.
She thought she got a man, and I think it was actually quite cruel to sort of learn that he didn't love her, he wasn't interested in her.
Please don't leave.
Oh, Mim, will you grow yourself a pair? He doesn't love you back, babe.
The elder candle for certain, and Heather found out.
I think you should just probably get up and leave.
Do you know what? I liked Minty. I used to like him, but he treated Heather appallingly. Don't like Minty. I've gone off him.
Yeah, it's so sad when a marriage where the bride has pretended to be someone else for prize money doesn't work out. Anyway, the next fella on Hev's list would have monumental consequences, and it all kicked off with a simple bit of rubbish.
Heather had a lucky yogurt pot lid that she'd taken from George Michael's bins.
Do you think he nicked it?
And Heather laminated it and put it like a necklace round her neck.
Armed with this memento, the girls go on yet another night in search of a bloke.
She found a man, and he was absolutely gorgeous.
You've got gorgeous eyes, do you know that?
But all was not as it seemed.
Shirley paid him. She set you up. She didn't think you could do it on your own. I'm sorry, Ev, it's all a lie.
There was a few slaps. How could you do this to me? Heather runs off to the unisex loos.
And then it turned out to be somebody genuinely chatting her up.
You got my money?
What do you mean, you're the...
Escort, yeah.
I don't believe this.
Heather, she's having a little cry. And suddenly, from nowhere, under the toilet comes a yogurt pot lid. It turns out that somebody was keen to comfort Heather that evening.
Oh, I see where this is going. Yeah, I thought so. Those McClunky's kebabs, So Hev was left alone with a new man in her life. So it's time to play Who's the Daddy? The violent recovering alcoholic, but who doesn't love a bad boy? The lovable softie who broke your heart. Time for a second chance, perhaps? The scrawny teenager, but you know what they say about the toy boys. Or the fellow lovable loser. Sounds like the perfect soulmate.
George, this is your dad.
Oh,
Of all the people, it turns out to be Darren Miller.
Heather would have loved Darren to be involved in George's life, but I think she knew that it was a no-go, really.
Baby George in Hev's life is everything. She couldn't function without him. She loves the bones off of him, and he's the best thing that ever happened to her.
All of Heather's life, all she's ever wanted is for somebody to love her. And when baby George came onto the scene, that's her unconditional love. She had to grow up. She had to become responsible.
Mummy's here, George. Mummy's here.
Having baby George and becoming a mother made Heather a much more rounded character and much more believable. You know, she couldn't carry on doing the karaoke and cheese jokes for the rest of her life.
That's why a lot of people can relate to Heather, because she is, you know, she's doing the real thing. She's a single woman with a baby. Father's not interested. Nobody else is interested. So it's just the two of them against the world, really.
Sorry, darling. I know you're hungry.
I think it just helped us fall in love with her.
It's what Heather needed. And all she needed to make the picture perfect was the husband.
Now with baby in tow, Hev is even more determined to find love. So where better to find it than on the internet?
I've joined up. No, you ain't. You are not gonna find love online.
But against all the odds, she did.
Cheryl, someone's clicked on me!
In the shape of a man who went by the name of Kevin, 68.
Oh, he sounds lovely.
Of course, Heather, being as soft as she is, instantly fell in love with this character.
Oh, look, he's missing me. Oh, that's good. Oh, I'm missing him.
Heather being Heather, she wanted to find the man, so she physically went looking for him. Are you Kevin 68?
You're not Kevin 68.
No, I'm Kevin Flynn.
She was going to meet him, then suddenly got a text saying he was dead.
It's with great sadness that I inform you that Kevin was killed last week in a motor accident.
Distraught by losing the love of a man she never met, Shirley throws a little party to cheer Hev up.
To Hev.
But this is EastEnders, so we know how this is going to end. Badly.
I bet he didn't even exist.
Shut up!
It was tender and it was warm and it was gentle.
Give me a break, will you?
Just stop it.
Phil finds this ridiculous. It's humorous as far as he's concerned.
He was my boyfriend and I loved him.
Stop it! Oh, stop it!
And he died, Phil. He died.
He didn't exist, did he?
He did, all right? It was me!
Ben admits, because he then feels bad that Heather's in this state, that he did it.
You.
Kevin 68. It was me.
There's only so much heartbreak one person can take. And Heather finally met her man in the most unexpected of places. Time to go back to Southend and that 80s lesbian convention.
She thought it was an 80s music convention, and Andrew was a bouncer there.
Do you love Hazeldine?
Can't say I remember her.
He gets to like Heather because Heather does this very silly Hazeldine dance across the floor to him, and you can see a little cheeky smile, thinking, "Oh, yeah, she's a bit of a one."
When they first met again, didn't trust him.
If you wanted, we could go to the fairground.
We've got memorabilia to look at.
Yeah, but we can go back later.
Thought he was another one, just, you know, pulling the rug over her eyes. You hurt her, and I'll break your legs.
But Andrew was not to be put off that easily and followed Hev back to Walford.
Andrew?
It was a spark for both of them. It wasn't her just sort of, you know, getting infatuated with him. He really liked her.
I've never met anyone like her before.
Well, Heather is certainly a one-off.
She couldn't believe it, and it sort of built and built.
Unlike any of the other men in the past, this time it wasn't Hev doing the chasing.
I'm staying around.
He did have a heart of gold. I think he genuinely loves Heather, and I think it's probably the first person that has genuinely loved Heather, Trot.
Andrew put a love heart in some chips for Heather, and he was probably the first man that's ever come along in her life that said he will fight for her, he'll defend her, he loves her, and just told her all the things she desperately wanted to hear.
I felt butterflies.
When Andrew says, "I love you," he means it. It was sincere, and I think after a little bit of time, she knew that. And for the very first time, she found real love.
I love you.
And whoever said fairy tales couldn't come true. Finally, our beloved Hev got what she'd always wanted.
Heather, will you marry me?
Yes!
The marriage between Hev and Andrew would have worked beautifully, and they probably would have ended up the happiest people on the square.
Here's a man who's finally telling everything that she's ever dreamt of, saying he wants to love her, giving her the big wedding of her dreams. Everything's finally going to be okay. What's the worst that could happen?
She could get killed, and it wouldn't be the first time either.
EastEnders absolutely loves its shock exits.
And that's something that keeps you on your toes a little bit, because you never know what's coming next. I always remember Tiffany, you know, when she got run over, all of a sudden Frank come round. Dropped me drink and everything, it was all over the shop.
Jamie Mitchell's death was a tragedy. You could almost hear the teenagers crying at Christmas, you know, when that happened.
No, I'm telling you. I remember Billy Jackson's demise, and that was very sad. It was a shock to the audience because all the time, for a long time in that episode, he was dead.
Archie was obviously the last biggie. Wonderful character, wonderful actor. Then Ben. You know, if you're going to go like that. This is going to be one of the biggest shock deaths that EastEnders has had.
She's not wrong. And when Hev went, she certainly went out with a bang on what was to be a memorable day on set.
Today we're going to kill Cheryl Fergison.
You couldn't keep that shut, could you?
Getting a great storyline like the murder of Hev is marvellous.
And this was the actual to the end.
That's what I'm after, yeah.
Normally Hev's quite light, so it's quite sort of dark, this bit.
Hev's death scene was quite difficult to shoot. There's a lot of geometry involved in the visualisation, as well as emotional behaviour from the characters. I had a stunt coordinator, and the way you shoot these things is always to get the camera so people travel past the camera, leaving the expression on somebody else's face.
Rehearsal's over, it was time to record soap history.
And action.
You told her, didn't you? I didn't know what else to do. You've got no idea what he's going to do to me.
Ben comes round to confront Heather. It just turns into this argument in Heather's flat.
No, we'll talk to him together. We'll make him understand.
You were supposed to be on my side here.
Wait, just calm down, yeah? Heather's so innocent. You know, she ain't done anything wrong.
I can't stay here, not now.
Look, I'm really sorry about this, Emma. Ben just completely and utterly goes off his rail and just demands money.
Mandy said Doc gave you money for the wedding.
Ben is rifling through her handbag and he's shouting.
Come on, we're going.
Get off me! Just tell me where it is.
I haven't got it, I swear to you.
And suddenly, Ben loses it. He completely loses the plot.
Please, Ben,
touch me.
I mean, wait till I tell Shirley about Ben.
Ben, get off me!
Oh, Ben!
And I go down like a sack of spuds. And that's it.
The murder of Heather starts an enormous storyline that's going to rumble on for quite some time.
When Phil comes out of prison, the first thing he wants to do is go and find his son and give it to him. He's just going to really tell him.
What he comes across is a horrific scene of Ben standing over Heather's body, and in that moment, Phil has to make a choice.
Help me.
And in true Mitchell fashion, Phil makes the decision to protect his son in the worst possible circumstances.
It doesn't matter that he's killed a person, it doesn't matter that he's grass fed up. At the end of the day, he's family and he's his son.
Cheryl decided to play the corpse because she knew how much that meant to us and how much we would relate to seeing her there.
It was like a radio play. I could hear Phil, I could hear Shirley screaming and bellowing. I could hear Jay, I could hear Ben.
Please, I lied to him.
You just knew it was the end. It was the most weirdest, oddest feeling.
A change of story direction is called a reversal of expectation, and Hev's death is a major reversal of expectation.
God only knows what's going to come of this, because he's already implicating Jay, himself, Andrew, Billy. You know, the police are investigating all sorts of avenues.
When Shirley finds out, there's going to be a nuclear reaction, and of course, what Ben is responsible for is going to shape that family and that character for many years to come.
You've got the aftermath. Who's going to get blamed? What's going to happen? You know, is someone going to go to prison? You know, no one knows.
Phil always wanted Ben to be a Mitchell, and now he's got what he wanted in the worst possible fashion. So I think Phil's going to regret ever saying those words to his son.
No one had to tell me that I was in a big storyline in this one, because it's number 10 on the Richter scale of storylines.
It would have been great for Ever to have got the prize, to have had a really loving relationship.
Ever, I love you, please.
The sad thing for Andrew is he's not only devastated by the death, he's now, you know, banging the frame for it. So he's got it coming all angles.
What's going to happen to Shirley? I have to wait and see about that one. But for me, it's going to be very hard without her. Yeah.
Ladies and gents, that is a scene complete, and that's Cheryl's last scene with us. Thank you, Cheryl.
After 381 episodes, EastEnders finally said goodbye to Cheryl and, of course, Heather Trott.
Don't be strangers, please. Don't be strangers. I mean, it's only a telephone, and come and see me in my Winnebago on Downford. Time on EastEnders has been emotional, and it has been a happy time. It's been probably the best time I've ever had.
I don't think we're ever going to see anyone quite like Heather again.
I've just really loved playing Heather, and it's been a big part of my life for a long time.
She's been fantastic, charming to work with, absolutely professional.
Working with Cheryl's been an absolute blind day.
What the audience are going to miss is the smile that she puts on their faces. They broke their mould when they made her.
I'll certainly miss Cheryl's laughter. I'll certainly miss her cuddles.
Sometimes you get some sad losses, and this is one of them.
I'm going to miss everything about Cheryl. Everything. My life on set with Cheryl Fergison has been incredible. So,
I think I might just chain myself to the security gate, or even possibly, I don't know if it's ever been done in EastEnders before, but I might squat in my dressing room.
Next up on 3, enough of all the death and sinister plotting. There's some light-hearted entertainment for you in the form of a Family Guy double bill.
As far as head office are concerned, we shut up shop end of next month.
I've had it with this place.
Anything could happen in that time.
Like what?
We might win the lottery.
I'm desperate. I need to make some money.
It's a rollover, I can't miss it. What would you do if you won and get yourself a young lover?
If you want us all to be together, Stuart, you have to get a pay rise.
We've won £18 million.
Eh?
5 shop workers swap stacking shelves for stacks of cash.
Our lives are going to change so much.
Don't make this difficult for me, Denise.
I just want Dave to fancy me again, that is all.
You ready?
I told you. All we got to do is act normal. He knows it was you who hit him. No, he doesn't.
They have won the lottery. Wish them luck.
I just wish everything could go back to how it was.
From writer Kay Mellor, The Syndicate. Tuesday at 9 on BBC One and BBC One HD.
Hi, I'm Tina. Here's your final update of the night from us. A coroner's ruled Whitney Houston died accidentally. Tests showed she drowned, but that heart disease and cocaine use were contributing factors. She was found dead in a hotel back in February. A man wanted for murdering 7 people in France has been killed by police. Mohamed Merah was shot dead after a long standoff. It's emerged he filmed his deadly attacks. 5 police officers are in hospital after they were attacked by a dog in East London. 4 of them are seriously hurt. It happened in Newham. The pitbull-type dog was put down. Talisa's spoken out after a sex tape was leaked online. She uploaded a video saying she's devastated. The singer's taken out an injunction to stop anyone posting the film. And this is the new kit for Team GB. It was designed by Stella McCartney. She said she didn't want it to look traditional. There has been criticism though. Some reckon it's too blue. That's your lot from us tonight. Stay with 3 now for Family Guy.
People of Britain, you suck at dating. Oh, you disagree? Play the tape, boys.
Something in your eyes. That's a cleavage violation, man.
I want to kiss you. Oh, no, you ruined it. No.
Music do you like?
80s.
Astonishing. Yeah.
Love is a competitive sport. Let the games begin. Brand new World Series of Dating, Monday at 10:30 on BBC 3.